guess that's what happens when your game means nothing, huh? 9 minutes of that
guy
dance.
was dancing. We were in the studio and we were watching him. He had several wardrobe changes. He danced, and people were oblivious to him. It was like, oh, it's Bob again dancing. They just were not just walking by him. It was amazing.
Last call. Here it is. Last call on one of the last days before a new decade. That's Dean Blandino. He's always here. And I'm Mike Pereira, and I'm here occasionally.
Are you feeling better? Are you feeling all those?
I don't know. I got all the love by that. You know, I had a nurse there in Dallas that was giving me all that stuff to take, and I think I overdosed a couple times. But yeah, I'm feeling better. But don't get rude to me, or I'll start coughing at you. But we got a big show today, don't we?
We got a big show. We got to run down Fiesta Bowl controversy, Ohio State, Clemson. We're going to talk Washington, Dallas. We're going to talk 49ers, Seahawks. We're going to talk Aaron Rodgers against the Lions, game-winning drive, helped by a little penalty there. And then our 2019 calls of the year. And then we got a little special thing at the end. What do Mike Pereira, Tom Brady, and Drew Brees have in common? Stick around for that. But Mike, you want to get us started?
Well, let's go to college football, huh? Let's go to the big playoff game. Obviously, we had a blowout with LSU and Joe Burrows, throwing for 7 TDs and running for another. Yeah. It was not a game early on, as a matter of fact. But certainly it was with Clemson and Ohio State. And you're talking about a big play, I think, in the third quarter on a scoop and score by Ohio State. And ruled on the field as a catch and a fumble, and then reversed to an incomplete pass. To me, it's one of those. Here's what was said at Mike Pereira. Was that the right call in the Ohio State game? Reversing scoop and score, sitting here with no sound, which is probably good. I'm curious on your take and why it wasn't a catch and a fumble. I really don't know for sure about you, Dean, because I was on the road again. But to me, I'm thinking about the rule and the way that replay is set up. It's not set up to re-officiate the play unless you are involved with targeting. And to me, this was one, to use the words I hear a lot from you, it was close. And to me, it's close and shouldn't have been overturned. You have to look at it, and the rule says there has to be it beyond a shadow of a doubt. That's terminology that's used in the college rule book. Beyond a shadow of a doubt that the call on the field is wrong. That wasn't to me. I get it that in real time, and Bill Lamagnier spoke up right away and said it was incomplete. But to me, when you look at it and you slow it down, which you do, you had control, brought it in, took essentially 4 steps, and then the ball got knocked out. I would have been fine if they would have ruled it incomplete right off the bat. And I would have been fine if they called it a catch and fumble. It's one of those in-between plays, and I had a hard time with that reversal.
Yeah, I agree. I watched it live, and when I saw it live, I said, wow, that's quick. It's out quick, and you watch it in real time. And I thought my initial reaction was incomplete. And then you watch the replays, and you say, wait a minute, okay, I got control. He takes a couple of steps. He starts to bring it in. And when you have all of that, then I think we're away from clear and obvious. We're away from reasonable doubt, shadow of a doubt, whatever language, indisputable video evidence, whatever language we want to use. I think we're away from that. The ruling on the field was catch fumble. And to me, I think we're in agreement. There wasn't enough to change it. And I do think had it been ruled incomplete initially on the field, which is surprising because when it's that quick and the officials see it in real time, they usually do make that incomplete. Had it been ruled incomplete initially, then again, is there enough to change it? I think it would have been more palatable had that been the sequence of events versus catch fumble on the field and then reversing it to incomplete. And it's a big play in the game. It's a scoop and score. Would have put Ohio State ahead. Obviously, there was a quarter and a half left, but it was, I thought replay did a really good job during the game throughout. There were 4 reversals. There was a tight catch at the sideline where the hand came down inbounds first, and they reversed that. J.K. Dobbins touchdown ruled initially. Ball hit the ground, came loose. I thought the targeting call was there. I thought the player lowered his head, initiated with the crown. But that last one was one that obviously people are going to talk about, and I just didn't think there was enough to overturn.
Let's hear what Ryan Day had to say about it.
It's too close right now, and I'm probably too emotional to really talk about those. But you'll have to look at the film and see what that was. But I know that there were some plays that were called on the field and then overturned. And when they overturn it, there has to be undisputable evidence. And if that's what they deemed it was, it's going to be something we'll have to take a look at. But the thing about those plays were certainly the catch that was returned for a touchdown was such a huge play in the game. The play with Sean Wade, that was a 4th down play. That was such a huge play in the game. The J.K. Dobbins catch those were major plays, and they didn't go our way. So not crying about it, but at the same time, those were big plays that didn't go our way, and certainly, again, a range of emotions about that.
I'm glad that you brought up the targeting thing, because a lot of people on social media comment about the targeting thing and how the quarterback kind of crouched and protected himself. But we all know zero liability in the quarterback. It's all the liabilities on the defender. And he did lower his head, did hit him with the crown, and it was the right call.
Let's move on to NFL. Let's talk about the game you were at, Washington, Dallas. You powered through with all of the help.
It was really a fun game to be at.
It was an exciting game down to the wire, I think, if the wire is, the second quarter. But I think we got a tweet to set this up, and they were comparing Dallas versus Washington. Catch just ruled a catch by Booth Review was same catch that was ruled incomplete by refs that changed the game during the CFP last night, OSU versus Clemson. And that was a call that was initially ruled incomplete, went to review, and just kind of walk us through that one.
Yeah, well, ruling on the field was incomplete, as you said, and then it goes to replay review because it was a big play. And you look and see, is there control, 2 feet, and a football move? So let's talk about the football move part of it, because you certainly did have control. You had 2 feet. And then you got a third step. And the third step, as you're going to the ground, makes the process of the catch complete. And you can look at it and say, really, there were 2 football moves on that play, because he got 2 steps down, and then as the third hit, he's extending the ball forward to try to make the line to gain, which he did. So the fact that you had control, that you had 2 feet, and that you had 2 types of football moves made that a completed pass and a first down, because they've got this new marker now. They've got this new camera that sits on a marker right by the line to gain stake. And so it gives you that down the line look, which is a terrific shot. And you saw the receiver actually extend his arm out, and I thought at first, because it took a while, that they weren't going to review it, but then they did stop it and then made the right call, saying that it was a catch and a first down.
He sounds good for a guy that was deathly ill. No, it's
obviously
something about, forget about all of those, forget about all of the pharmaceuticals. It's the camera. It does, and I'll share a quick story about Pereira. When I was at the league office, and Mike used to do a show called Official Review with Rich Eisen, and I remember
this is not on the rundown, Bondo.
Wait. And so
Bondo,
Mike
it's not on the rundown.
Mike was deathly ill again on his deathbed.
Am I ever healthy?
And it was the day of the show, and he was thinking, we're going to cancel it. And they said, well, wait a minute, Dean could do the show with Rich. You've never seen a more miraculous comeback. It was like Lazarus rising from the dead. You have never seen. Mike was there. I'm going to be on camera. I'm not going to lose my camera.
Well, because I was afraid the show was going to get canceled if you went on.
How many times did it get canceled?
Well, only the one time. My nickname was canceled after my first year by Blandino, by the way. Okay, why am I the punching bag all the time?
Let's move on.
Okay, move. All right, let's go to the 49ers, and that was incredible, and there's so much that we could talk about with the 49ers, but I guess let's go to the play that everybody's talking about, some tweets. We got any tweets about that? Let's take a look. If the booth isn't going to review that PI, why even have the rule? It was my understanding that it was for moments like that.
And that's Torrey Smith. That's the player Torrey Smith. Yeah. And it's interesting because we were talking about Sunday was pretty good from an officiating perspective. Controversy free. Look, not a lot of games were meaningful. There was just a small set of games that were meaningful, but there wasn't a lot of controversy until last night's game and at the end of the game. And obviously, It was a call that wasn't made on the field, third down, and there was some contact. And I think, we talked about it, and I'd love to get your take on it. I think there's some contact on both sides. I don't feel this is a play that I do feel it's defensive pass interference. I really do. I don't think this is a horrible no call. I don't think this was so blatantly obvious. I do think it was pass interference, but there's some more to this play. And Mike, you were saying, like, what was your kind of initial reaction?
I was just lucky that I got to see this flying back so I could get it on my phone, actually. And to me, my initial reaction was that it was defensive pass interference. I will say this. When I looked at it again closer today, I think the receiver does turn into the defender, turns into the defender initially, and then turns away right as the ball gets there. And I know in slow motion that it actually, you can see the defender's got the receiver hooked. And I think it is pass interference. But does it rise to that level that you go to in replay, to make that call? And this is not at all comparable to me to what happened last year in the championship game in New Orleans. That was so clear and obvious in real time. This was not. And to me, Dean, the danger of, and whether to stop it or not, is if you stop it, are you almost saying, yeah, there is pass interference on this, and that's why I'm stopping it? Or do you put yourself in a bind by stopping it and saying, now I got to analyze it more? I think it's one of those where you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't.
It's a tough spot. It's a tough spot because you really, there's no great outcome, because unless you stop it and change it, then, like you said, you don't stop the game, and everybody says, well, they didn't even review it. Well, yes, they review it. They just didn't have a formal review with the referee. Now, if you stop it, now we draw attention to it, and if you don't change it, it's still going to have the same questions. Again, I just feel like this is a play. We've seen the standard kind of fluctuate, and I think we've had a standard the last couple of weeks where I don't think if you overturn this call and make it pass interference, it would have been that much different than what we've seen the last couple of weeks on pass interference. I think middle of the season, it didn't meet that standard. It didn't meet that standard. And so that's where I think there's just been that moving target, and I think that's part of the frustration with this rule. And look, we've got 11 games left, and I really feel like the future of this rule depends on what happens in the postseason.
I think the future of the rule is deep, dead, and gone, especially when I talk to some of the coaches and owners. Remember the rule. The rule's got to get approved by 24 teams. Absolutely. When they put it back up for review.
Let's go to Lions-Packers. This was a pivotal call late in the game, tie game. The Packers are playing potentially for the number 1 seed, and Aaron Rodgers scrambles out of the pocket, slides, he gets hit, and flag comes out, unnecessary roughness, hit on a sliding runner. What did you think of this call, Mike?
I'm not crazy about it. I think that's what Charles Davis said. I'm not crazy about it. I think it's hard because, there is provision in the book that talks about the late slide. Yeah. And to me, this is a late slide. I mean, when you think about watching Murray and everything, when he slides early to get the protection. And, if you slide late and you get hit in the head or neck area, then it is a foul. And, the down judge, I can see why he called it, because it's a strong hit. But, again, I actually think basically it's a forearm to the shoulder and not to the head or neck area. So with the lovely benefit of slow motion, I'm not crazy about it. Without the slow motion, if it never would have been replayed, I'd have probably been okay with it. But I think in the end, I'm not crazy about it.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's a tough call. It's tough on the defender. It's tough on the official when the quarterback slides late. And we always were telling the teams and the passers, especially, any runner can give himself up, but especially if you want protection, slide early. And you mentioned Kyler Murray. He does a good job of getting down early. And some other quarterbacks tend to push the envelope. When you push the envelope, now you open yourself up. If you slide late and the defender is committed to that contact before the slide starts, then you can get hit forcibly to the body. You can't get hit to the head neck area. And I think you watch it, it's a high hit, but it's shoulder forearm to the upper shoulder, not the head neck area. Ends up being a big call in the game, 15 yards. That extends the drive. It was a first down play, but it gives the Packers 15 additional yards, and they kick a field goal to win the game. Tough call. I can understand why the down judge made it, but again, the key is slide early, and you get all of the protection. When you slide late, you only get head neck.
So we're done with the regular season now, and headed into the playoffs, as you say, 11 more games. I think that's what you forgot about the Pro Bowl, didn't you? Or
I don't think replay review in the Pro Bowl is going to be consequential, but
let's think
maybe.
back about 19. What's your most memorable call of 2019?
There isn't one call that stands out. I feel like there's been themes, and I feel like for me the most memorable theme has been pass interference review, and I think I put it all into one bucket. And we've seen the ones that jump out. DeAndre Hopkins, Golden Tate were not overturned, and then the standards somewhat changing toward the latter part of the season. So I feel like that overall has been such a focus of everyone. We've been talking about it. You have players, former coaches, current players tweeting about it. I don't remember a year where there's been that much attention on one specific area regarding officiating. And so to me, that's what I'm going to remember most from 2019 as it pertains to officiating. And it's kind of disappointing in a way because it's the 100th season and you want, look at the way the game ended last night. That's the difference between 1 and 5, and we should be talking about how great the game was, and it went down to the wire. And we're talking about pass interference reviews, so that's what's going to be most memorable for me, and not in a good way.
Yeah, and I have to say for me, as I think back, it's theme based also, and I think it's basically it was opening up New York to get involved in ejecting players, and I think. Really, to me, we saw more players ejected this year for hits that they wouldn't have been ejected for before. Mm-hmm. And I'm not necessarily against that because certainly we want to get the vicious hits out of the game, but that to me was a big issue. And I think the league has done a good job, in terms of player safety. And I think it's made a difference. And I might even say when I think of a good rule change, to me, the one that was a good one was the blindside block, getting rid of the blindside block, because you see it now as we get toward the end of the season. Boy, players are letting up. They're either pushing or they're screening or they're laying off.
The interception return that has become such a different play.
Yeah,
it has. A fumble recovery return has become such a different play, and you don't see those big time blow up blocks anymore.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, all right, I know this is going to upset him, but we have a picture.
What is it? Pick on Mike again?
We have a question. But
do I have any support in this building?
You were very sick.
Danny doesn't even show up anymore to support
ill.
me.
We're worried about your health, and so the question came
Excuse me.
As he coughs in my face. There's a question came up, you've got these quarterbacks, Tom Brady in his 40s, Drew Brees 40. These guys are playing at such a high level. When are they going to retire? Well, you are into your 40s, maybe a little bit beyond that, and you're at such a high level. So the question was, who's going to retire first? Can we show the picture? So here they are. This is Tom, Drew, and Mike. This is what, when they all retire, they're going to be sitting on the park bench, throwing pieces of bread to the ducks, talking about the good old days. Grumpy old men here. Who's
3 guys saying, do you remember how Blandino just killed a game of football?
That's right.
I mean, he did everything. I left and everything went to hell after that.
That's what grumpy old men do. Back in my day,
Brady saying I wouldn't have the crutch if it wasn't for that low hit in Kansas City.
It was under your watch.
And Breeze going, oh, you're kidding me. Yeah, that's great. Okay, we're done. That's the last call.
We're done. You know what? That's last call. Thanks for watching. We do have one more football game on the college football side for you. Get ready. I am leaving straight from here to the studio for the 2019 Red Box Bowl. Cal, Illinois. It's going to be the game of the year. I'm telling you right now.
And I got ignored again. Did they ask me to do that game? Heck no.
7 overtimes. You can only handle one game a week because then you're on Twitter complaining. But this has been Last Call. Thanks for watching.
Goodbye, everybody.
Check out the Red Box Bowl, FS1, today. About an hour and a half.